Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take what we have here as our start file and show you the process of using this start file to create your diagram now. So since we just got done with example 1.2, so I'm going to go underneath here, we sketched this one manually, okay? And for your practice problems, instead of handing in this sketch, you're going to be handing in the AutoCAD version of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I drew here, but now using the elements that I just created in AutoCAD, we're going to now have this as an AutoCAD kinematic diagram instead. Okay. So let's show that process. So first of all, you're going to open up AutoCAD, and instead of going to one of those templates, you're going to open your kinematic start file. Okay. So this is just that generic file that we just created that has that frame, the pin joint, and a slider with the labels. And now I'm going to right away, I'm going to do a file save as, and I'm going to save it as whatever, item that I want to call it. So in this case, I'm going to call it example 1_2_2, just because I've done this a couple times. So I rename it because what I don't want to do is I don't want to go over the top of or resave over the top of my kinematic diagram. And now what I'm going to continue to do is just position these elements in a way that's going to duplicate that sketch that I just did. So I am going to, first of all, I'm going to move my frame member over to the left, okay? And now remember, when I sketched this originally, I put my frame so it was up. So if you wanted to, if you're like, it's kind of nice because that's out of the way from what's down over here, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to mirror mine so that it's going to be up, okay? So I'm going to go back to AutoCAD here. And I am going to do the mirror function, which is in the middle of the modify menu here. And I'm going to select just my frame, enter. And then it says specify a point on your mirror line. All I want to do is create a horizontal line. So I'm going to make sure that I have my ortho on. I'm going to randomly select a point and then randomly select a point. And now it says, do you want to erase the source data? I do in this case because I don't want this frame to be down. I want it to be up. So I'm going to say yes. So then now it only leaves one copy of that. And then I'm going to do a copy. You can either do it on the menu or put it in. And I'm going to select that, hit enter, and I'm just going to do a horizontal copy over a distance. Okay. Because again, we don't have dimensions here just to look proportional. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in the length of my first link, and I'm going to go from the left-hand frame down into the right to represent that element that connects to the handle. So I'm going to change my layer to the object line layer. I'm going to draw a line, and I want to grab, make sure you don't grab on the quadrants. You want to grab the center. Okay. So if you need to, you can change your object snaps so that you can, grab to these elements. Okay. Or you can always do shift right mouse button and you can go to center and then it'll grab the center of that element. Oopsie. Sorry. So line, shift right mouse button, center, and then now it'll grab that center. Okay. I have my ortho on, so I'm going to turn that off because I want this kind of at an angle down and right about here-ish, right? Because again, I'm just eyeballing this because I don't have dimensions. Now on the end of this line, this is a pin connection. So I'm going to copy my pin connection. So I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to copy this, enter, and from the center, so shift right mouse button, center, I'm going to grab that and I'm going to go to the endpoint of the link that I just created. Okay. So right now, if I go underneath here, I just created these two and what I called my link number 2 from my diagram, and then points A and B. Now I'm going to create my handle. Okay. So I'm going to go, and again, eyeballing. I'm going to do a line. And this is going to be from, I'll just do the end point. I'm going to go horizontal, turn that back on, horizontal-ish, and then turn it back off. And then kind of went like out over here and then back up here. Okay. Something like that. And then I need to add, I'm going to copy my pin connection from here to the endpoint here. Okay. All right. Now this is link number 2 or number 3, I think is what I called it. Then lastly, I'm going to do my moving jaw. So if we go back underneath here, I'm going to draw this triangle right there, my what I called link number 4. So I'm going to go line from the center, shift right mouse button, up to the center. Make sure you grab the centers and you're not grabbing like quadrants or anything. And I think this was like here-ish and then there-ish. And again, eyeballing. Okay. And now that should be all of my, links in place. So I'm going to do a quick file save to that example 1.2. And now I'm going to add the labels. Okay. So I'm simply going to move these items where they need to go. So I'm going to do a move and I'm going to grab one with a circle. I'm going to put mine here. And then I'm going to move, oopsie, 2 with a circle. These are going to be my links. So that's going to be here. I'm going to move 3 with a circle. Going to be here. And then I'm going to move 4 with a circle. I'll put it right about here. Okay. And then the same thing for my joints. So I'm going to move A. And that's going to go here. I'm going to move B. Here. I'm going to move C. It's going to go here. And I'm going to move D. Now, again, it's relatively arbitrary where you put the labels, except number 1 has to be the frame. If there's more than one connection to the frame, you just put it in one place. As far as the links and the letters, we're going to start kind of using this very same format, but if you kind of arbitrarily do them a little bit differently than this, that's okay. That's okay. And now once I have this done, if there are any special interest points, and in this case, there was that X and that Y, then I'm simply going to do a copy of one of my letters, and I'm going to put one up at the end here, and I'll rename it in a second. So I'll double click on that, and I'm going to put X, and then I'm going to double click over here, and I'm going to put Y. And now my diagram should be complete, okay, over here. But I have the elements over on the right-hand side that I didn't use. Make sure that you get rid of those. So you want to select them and then just delete them because we didn't have a slider, if you would, for that. Does that make sense? Okay. So file save is appropriate. Now, to hand in, I need to know that this is example 1.2, right? I have one of 2 ways that I can do that. I can either add it as a label here where I could copy, let's say the letter A here, and I'm going to put that up here, and I'm just going to double click on it, and I'm just going to edit the text as example 1.2, okay? And make this a little, 1.2, okay? And then that way, when I take my screenshot, I can include that example 1.2, and I know when I'm looking at that diagram, that's what it references, okay? So if you take a screenshot, which you will, you're going to, on my computer, and I know it's different in some other places, but we're basically going to use that snipping tool to get a screenshot. And I want to do, on mine, it's Windows Shift S. And then I just want to, see, I'm going to push this over here. Windows Shift S. And then I just want to window around, it's a window and drag, the area where I've got my diagram, including the example 1.2, okay? Now, once I have that, that's on my clipboard, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up like a document, something like Word or window or Google Docs. And what you're going to do, did it open up? There we go. What you're going to do is, it's opening like this. I'm going to do a blank document, and I'm going to now paste that screenshot that I just took right here. So I'm going to say, okay, Control V, and then it's there. Now, since I had example 1.2 in here, I know that that's the illustration for example 1.2. If you don't put that in place, then all I ask is that you go down and you maybe add a header to this or just a label of example 1.2, and then the illustration right in back of it would be that item. Does that make sense? So whether it's identifying it here in the document or as part of the screenshot, I don't care, one or the other, okay? And then what you're going to do is you'll save this, then you'll do a file, save as, and this would be practice, or I'm sorry, Mod1 practice problems or something. Because we'll continue then to add to this as we go for more practice problems that we continue to do. And then that way, when you hand in, you can just take this Word document and it has all of your screenshots on it in one document, and then it's easy for me to go through. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions about creating and using AutoCAD to create the diagrams with the start file, and also how to hand in not only this particular assignment, but assignments going forward would be that same format. Okay. All right. So then what I'll do is I will stop the recording here.